This frame design is as retro as a vintage mountain bike can get. And yet, I bet you have never even heard of this rare Specialized model from the 80s. The 1987 Street Stomper, in a colorway simply called Neon Blue. Today, I want to give this bike a second life. We will restore the frame and the original components and rebuild it in a way that hopefully does this awesome frame justice. Hey, what's up? I'm Alex, and as you know, I love green frames. I know this Street Stomper comes across very blue on camera, but trust me, in reality it's very green or turquoise looking. Now, every pre-1988 Specialized restoration is special, don't get me wrong. There just aren't that many of those frames around, so odds are you won't get the chance to work on too many of them in your lifetime. But a Street Stomper, they're super rare because they were only around for a single model year in 1987. Intended as an entry-level lineup extension below the Hard Rock, it disappeared in 1988 and wasn't really replaced until the 91 Hard Rock Metro came around. So for sure this bike has its appeal not because of its high-end nature, but because of how unique and rare it is. But don't get me wrong, the components that we use on here are absolutely solid and stunning to look at, so no comparison to what was used in the 90s on entry-level Specializeds. All that is to say that I'm very excited to build this frame back up, even more so because we are once again supported by the lovely Käthe from Rakäthe Berlin. She already supported us in the past with some pedal straps that she designed, and today she created a custom basket bag that will slot right into the manual basket that I plan on installing on this build. But before we get to mount it on the bike, there is a lot of work ahead of us, and I would say we start by taking a look inside a little plastic bag. Now, in addition to the parts that you saw still mounted to the bike, the seller also gave me a bag with the rest of the parts. I'm really not one to shy away from dirty components, but these parts were super crusty. The dirt was, it was like it was baked. Yeah, really hard to deal with. During the whole process, I actually started to wonder if the reason why the previous owner sold a half restored and half assembled bike was that they just got fed up with cleaning these components and left the rest to me. I don't know, but yeah, real challenge. Always a plus when that's included. Saves us trouble. Right, let's get it cleaned up. This is the result I'm looking for at this stage, and this is where we're starting. Now, with dirt crust so thick, it's always a good idea to soak and scratch. You may be wondering why I haven't fully disassembled these, but I always feel like with small parts, it's better to still have them attached to something bigger, because it makes it easier to hold and work on it. Of course, I'm still going to disassemble it, but I want to get this rough dirt off first. So that's step one. Step two. And eventually you get to that stage where you can't see what you're doing anymore because it's so foamy. And then just reset. Okay. Part of the reason I do this is so everything looks nice and shiny on pictures and video later on. But it also has a performance impact. Less dirt means less friction, means better performance. And that means more fun riding. Generally, I like to start with a repair paste. Not only does that help remove larger scratches from the paint, but it also makes the edges of these paint chips a bit softer to sort of help prevent further chipping in those areas. When you have stickers on the paint, the edges like to collect dirt, which causes this dirt outline on these see-through stickers here. I find that a good way to deal with that is with a toothbrush. Next up, rust converter for all the rusty spots. Turns the rust black and stops further corrosion. The next day, the rust converter is dry and everything is black now, which means that we can polish the frame. You can purchase all the tools and products that I use in our shop. They're all linked in the video description, as well as all the new components that I'll be using later on. When we left off with these components, they were clean, but not quite ready to go on the frame. They still need a polish, and I always use Autosol metal polish for that. It's a very easy product to use, and the effect is always astonishing. Since the previous owner already serviced the headset, I would expect the stem to come out neat and greased, but we'll see. Very nice. Diacom brakes are always a bit different to set up than Shimano brakes. As you can see on these, there's no hole for the spring to go in, and that's because the spring is held by this little clip here. So this slots into the frame. And this goes on here. Similar, I mean, obviously different, but similar to the Diacom XCM brakes that I use on, I think, the 91 SM400 in the blue one. These caps were on here, and they're not the nicest looking anymore, so we're going to replace them with these. Very similar style, but new. In the last video I said that I don't like the Biopace chainrings too much, and it has nothing to do with how they work. It has everything to do with how they are to set up, because as you can see, it's not that easy to get the front derailleur dialed in because the chainring doesn't stay in place. I always like to use a pedal washer, given that they don't have a round surface where they contact the cranks, just to avoid that these sharp edges here damage the cranks. one of the spokes was broken, so we need to replace that one. Luckily, I do have the right size. It's a used spoke, but I don't mind that at all because that way it won't stick out. We'll true it when everything is assembled again. Obviously, I can't get to that hole when the cassette is on, so quite important to do that now. Looks like we have more tight clearances to deal with than I thought, but we can solve it. As you can see, there is still a bit of space that we have, so we'll just move this bracket up. So we can't do the cable crossing underneath the down tube because these attachment points are too high and the cable would rub against the frame. So the intended cable routing is to go this way, which I wanted to avoid because of the basket. But actually it's not too bad. Always make sure these caps are well on there, otherwise they will slide that last bit when you brake or shift and then mess up your setup. Don't ask me how I know. At this stage I really don't worry about cable tension. I just want to get the cable on there, get it attached, and then once the chain is on, we'll set everything up. Okay, time to mount the bag. Comes with a strap if you want to take it with you. It's got plenty of room. If you don't need it, it's nicely compact. It's custom made for this basket, so all the measurements fit. This is also reflective, which is pretty cool. Thanks for joining me today. If you don't want to miss the next build, which I think you shouldn't because it's an 89 Stump Jumper comp, you should make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you then. In case you missed the last video where we rebuilt an 88 Rockhopper comp, I've linked it for you.